everybody, and welcome back to the second part of this Classic Quest podcast episode where we will be discussing Ice Cube's Death Certificate album. This is the show where we break down the classic hip-hop albums track by track and give our thoughts and our opinions on each and every song. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady friend Bonnie.
And yeah, so basically this is part 2, meaning if you haven't watched part 1 yet,
go check it out.
You probably should. That's where all the intro happened, all that good stuff. What we will do is, because part 1's already live, is I thought it would be fun to take a look at the 5 comments we got between part 1 and part 2, because all of y'all is awesome. And so Dope C, he put down that I just watched Colors today, got it on Blu-ray, and I thought that was cool because we talked about that because, I guess it gets brought up in the review, and he shows he watched it, he timestamped it. That's dope. Cool. So if you want to have a conversation with us, you can add to the comments yourselves.
We definitely appreciate the timestamping.
TJ Black Hurricane gave a little mini comment because we know he's going to drop a big one later on. We're looking forward to it.
Yep.
And, brings up that CDs came out in 1984, which is a direct answer to our question. Thank you so much. They became mainstream in the 90s, but cassettes and vinyls were still the more mainstream option. His parents said the first CD they bought was the soundtrack to the film The Bodyguard.
Amazing.
The first CD I got was Pink Misunderstood. No. Can't Take Me Home. It was the first Pink album.
First album I bought was Spice Girls Spice.
As far as tapes, I'm pretty sure it was like in the Backstreet Boys or one of those guys.
Pocahontas soundtrack. No, there was other things earlier.
And then Lindell Williams came in commenting on how compact discs had been around since the 80s, but also cassettes and vinyls were the way to go. They literally both basically said the same thing there, so that's cool. It was the early 90s when CD players became more affordable. He then goes on to tell me how the first CD player he saw was actually in a Rolls Royce, and I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Cool, yeah.
Scribble had the first comment on this review, and he went, little fun fact, his producer, and we reviewed Scribble's album, you should check that out on his channel, or check out his music, he's fucking dope, and his producer Boy did a lot of the production on the Ice Cube album, or on his album. Any scratching you hear on this project was done, as well as a few beats, some classic West Coast shit, so that's pretty fresh. And then a few minutes before we started recording, Reese Wiley asked, can you put the actual album on here, thanks? And I just wanted to say no, we cannot do that because we are not the copyright holders of Ice Cube's Death Certificate, and if we put the whole album on, they could just pull the whole video down, and obviously they would, they'll definitely claim it, just to give a little tangent on fair use, even the 5-second clips that we use in this song is playing with fire, and they can just claim the video. And if we wanted to unlock it all, we'd have to risk going to court, hypothetically. Now, typically a 5-second clip while talking about a song for 5+ minutes, you're probably in a good place, and nobody's gonna mess with you. Can't swear in the beginning anymore. Nobody's gonna mess with you because they would lose in court if they tried to come after us, honestly. But we went to 10 seconds and had music videos, and that was enough to block our Biggie review worldwide, which is why you saw a random-ass old Biggie review come up on the channel yesterday. Ta-da! So, we can't really put up that much of the music. I mean, we have a separate channel, but we're going to fuck around with the reactions, and we're going to make that happen, and we're going to do it. That's cool. That'll be a separate channel. That'll not be this one where we can own the content and it's pretty fresh. As it is to go move this podcast into the Spotify and the iTunes, we actually have to go through all the podcasts and cut out those song clips because you can't be uploading that stuff. We don't have Joe Budden money to get away with it here and there,
Yeah.
And if you look at the copyright situation in Europe, it's gonna roll out to USA. Don't even think that you guys are gonna escape it, Anyway, so no, I just wanted to answer that. You can't put somebody else's complete album on your YouTube channel. So what I did instead is I found the playlist to the album, which was just 21 of the songs in order, including the bonus one, and I linked them. I'm like, if you guys want to watch the full albums, just, I guess, click on the album, If we put review in the thumbnail, I just don't get it. I don't understand why you want to, anyway, I'm not going to be negative like that. I say we get into it. The first track of part 2 that we'll be discussing is Alive on Arrival.
Yo, I didn't do a thing. Don't want to go out like my man right.
All right, Bonnie, how you feel about this track?
Okay, so something happens at the beginning, a little scuffle, let's just say, and it's basically, Ice is involved in a shootout, but he doesn't realize that, he's trying to figure out if he shot anybody, and then like looks down and realizes that he was shot.
I don't think he shot anybody. I think he's innocent here. If we look at the beginning, he's at the hot spot and everybody's nervous. Some car surfaces, shots get let loose. So he's at the drug spot where shit's going on. Then as he's running,
it's just like shots fired.
Somebody pushed him or whatever, and he ends up falling down. And so he's the guy who falls down, and then he gets clipped in the middle of like the scuffle, and the way he describes it again has that beautiful storytelling, like, so now I got a jet, only ran one block, but my shirt is soaking wet. He's trying to see if we got him, look down on my blood, shirt's red at the bottom, didn't panic, I still look cracked out, yelled to the homies, then I blacked out, and then you hear like them coming on that intro.
But like I like how it like stops, like there's like like the music just like blacks out, like exactly like he's describing.
It's
and then like it's kind of like his buddies like waking him up and like bringing him to the hospital and stuff like that.
Well, he wakes up in the back of a tray, which I'm going to assume is a car or a truck or something, on the way to the hospital where, that's the county hospital where people will die over a little scratch sitting in the trauma center.
Yeah.
So it almost sounds like that in this hospital you're not going to be given the best treatment, we'll say, and that simple things that could be rectified are going to complicate and kill you, probably just due to neglect and probably because you're poor and black.
And like overworked like physicians and like, people getting frustrated and I don't know.
Lack of money, because the truth is if you walk in and you're rich, you'll get like the VIP treatment. And this is like the one thing I'm truly grateful for growing up in Canada is I'll never have to worry about that shit in Canada, at least. And if I go to the States,
I know everyone's
all
like, socialist Canada,
but like I remember my dad used to tell me shit like, you should be grateful you grew up here. If you were a kid and you broke your arm, you'd bankrupt us. I'll be like, fuck, eh? That's like a pretty powerful sentiment, all things considered, that we don't have to consider. And then I imagine if you walk in and they just look at you as a black guy with a gunshot wound and shit, then you get all of the racist assumptions, like, who's this little gangbanger fucker here? Even though the true story is he's an innocent dude, nobody really catches that. He can kind of feel the whole bullet situation. Like he goes, in my back is where the bullet entered. Yo, nurse, I'm getting kind of warm. Bitch still made me fill out the fucking form.
Yeah, coughing which is just like ridiculous.
Coughing up blood on my hands and knees. And I heard, freeze, don't move. Yo, I didn't do a thing. Don't want to go out like my man Rodney King. Still got gaffled. Internal bleeding as the bullet starts to travel. So like it's like on top of the fact that like dude has been shot. Now Cost is fucking him up, handcuffing him. No compassion. Like at the end of the day,
like he's just there in a hospital and just needs help.
And then they're like, what gang are you affiliated with? He's like, man, I don't bang, I rock rhymes, and I'm a victim of neighborhood crime. Like, yo, I'm the victim here. This is messed up and whatnot. And then you have the little second interlude, and he's like, man, what does it matter, man? I'm shot. Like, it's crazy that the priorities of the police in that moment is going to be...
like, his life should be more important than arresting him.
And so, like, I don't know. I hear about this, and, we can exclaim on it. But, like, it's just messed up history that, like, I guess adds to the... Like, I don't have no reason to doubt that this happened. Like, obviously, if not this particular specific set of circumstances, Ice Cube is just documenting a phenomenon that we know happens a whole bunch of times. And I don't know. Like, I just look at that, and I'm like... It just hits you. Like, it's one of those really powerful story songs. And then, in the third verse, he's just, like, lying in bed, waiting and not getting help and kind of just dying as he's sitting there. He was able to watch 2 full episodes of MASH. This is a guy who got shot.
Yep.
And then
he has to, like, he tries to, like, sweet talk, like, the doctor or, like, the nurse or whatever. Like, he's just trying everything, like, to get help.
And then, halfway dead, then he begins ass kicking you just to get overlooked, only to get a band-aid and an IV. That's when he starts cussing, so he's getting frustrated and mad. The police start asking him, yo, who shot you? Who did it? And he's like, I don't know. Was it gangbangers? Yeah, obviously it's gangbangers who fucking shot me. And then it flows into the last 4 lines, which is just like almost heartbreaking. Why can't I get help? Because I'm black. I got to go for self. Too many black bodies, the hospital housing. So at 10 p.m. I was Audi 5000, which is, a fancy way of saying he died.
But also a car.
Yeah, so fancy. But and then that's it, right? And you got to consider, just to bring in this is the end of the Death album per se, right? The last real song. Mm-hmm. So if you look at just kind of this story as it progresses, he's the wrong to fuck with is like having him. I mean, obviously it's about Ice Cube, but it's also like this character that he introduces to us that's supposed to probably be like that general attitude of somebody in that environment. Yeah. Then My Summer Vacation shows some of the moves they're making. Steady Mobbin' brings in some of the lifestyle that's prevalent. And again, this is all supposed to be a bit of a reflection of the current reality of the hood. And then with Robin Lynch, you get kind of the satirical look at the hood, basically pointing out some of the more crazy things going on, and also maybe just how people perceive them and treat them like these little animals and shit,
like something like animals in a cage, or just something to look at and not really like do anything about.
A couple songs about sex and how shit's fucked up in that regard as well, which is fine. I mean, they flow well together. And then even if you consider it, A Bird in the Hand is about a guy who becomes a dad, a consequence of sex, that's also kind of tied into the other songs. Yeah. So it's like 3 songs being like...
And also because of the lack of education about sex, or, people just dropping out, or, just like, all of the reasons that, that kids are prevented from going to school. There's just so many factors involved in that.
And then, you get to A Bird in the Hand, which kind of brings in, on top of the kind of dropping out part over being a father, you get this notion of, selling drugs to get by due to lack of opportunity, which is another facet of this life, followed by, I need a gun because now that I'm involved in this world, there's no other choice. This is the only way to get through it. And then to further drive the point home, on Alive on Arrival, it kind of flips the script. So let's say the protagonist up until this point may have been a person who you would assume, okay, this dude kind of maybe deserves what's coming. I don't mean that in a negative way, but he's doing some funny things. He's maybe not the best behaved person, whatever.
Right.
But then you flip it and go, the consequence of this environment, regardless of who's the guilty perpetrator, regardless of who's the one, even the innocent are going to be the victims of this situation, leading to Alive on Arrival where the dude dies. And I was like, well played, Ice Cube. You crafted a really good disc one, ready to fucking break down the situation, because it really does reflect a lot of the subject matter that we come across in a lot of these albums, but does it in almost a story-driven way, where when you look at it kind of thematically, you're like, oh shit, that flows in a really proper way. Anyway, I was really into this track. I thought it was one of the best on the project, for real. I give it a 5 on 5.
Yeah, we pretty much went through the whole song.
I took over, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, because we both discussed it. It was fine. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the whole situation that he's in, like how they want to know more about like the gangs. They just want to... They're not even like caring about this being a person. They're just caring about like having their like presumptions be correct, like about them being in a gang, and and then he dies because he's not getting any attention. He's not getting like the proper treatment. This is just the consequence of being in the hood, and just being there, and just being a member of that community, and to them, they're just, another black person dead, great. Like, this is what we want. Like, this is another way that the government kills off black people or gets rid of black people. They just don't care for them. And, like, this is, I think, a pretty strong, this is something that Ice Cube is, he's very anti-establishment. And so it's... like that's kind of what I'm getting. Like that's kind of my interpretation of it as well. So he sees this as another way to, to just, dismiss black people or poor people or whatever. And yeah, I think it's just crazy. So I gave this a 4.75. 4.75. This is just frustrating racism. Just, yeah.
All right. So the next song, which does conclude the death side, is called Death.
Goddamn white man, it is cold, blue-eyed. Devil don't even.
All right. So this is a little skit thing. It's got a funky little drum beat where it almost feels like you're on a street corner and like a poet's gonna get up and speak. And this is Dr. Khalid Mohammed, who I looked into him a little bit, and oh boy, I cannot wait to hear what this guy has to say. I am not the kind of person that comes across the challenging point of views and runs away and gets offended and shit. I'm like, this dude has some very strong opinions. Anyway, I think like a year or two after this album, some serious stuff went on, and he said something that was a little bit too far, and he got like a little bit in trouble. And I believe he was kicked out of the Nation of Islam, like in a formal sense. And I might be wrong. Again, I read this up a few days ago. So I was like, and he's still like active. Like there was something about him in 2014 doing stuff. So I'm like curious about these types of characters who, regardless to what their opinions are and what they might think of me as a human, I want to hear what they have to say, because
it's obviously something powerful that's getting like a lot of attention, especially from, like the community or the people that they're targeting.
But anyway, on this, he kind of has this little poem, "Let me live my life. We can no longer live our lives. Then let us give our lives for the liberation and salvation of the black nation." Essentially, it boils down to the white dudes have brainwashed us into killing each other, and we should stop doing these bad things. And devil, in the context of this track, is white dude, white person.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Like, we can't fuck with them. We shouldn't do that. They don't die, they multiply, and I respect that shit, and it's really powerful. And in a sense, I would say you're seeing the fruits of that almost this time later, where there is this progressive effort by some people out there to try to do a little bit more than what's been done in the past. Anyway, at least that's what I see. I might be completely wrong. I'm in Canada though, so the stakes are all different here. Anyway, it ends with "Open your black eyes for rebirth, resurrection, and rise." And it's like a pivot. It's almost like this is the death of the old way things have been. It's time to shed the blindness from our people, from our culture, and let's take an action plan for what we gonna do next. You heard the bad stuff. Let's get to the exciting things.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done, and I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was so fitting for this project.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, this was a speech made particularly to motivate black people to rise above, to better yourselves, essentially, and basically, and then he says, multiply. And so I think that that's something that's important because, as much as the government, as, like, we're kind of, like, seeing, I think, or, whatever establishments, are trying to always suppress, kill off, put them in jail, like give them like restrictive rights, for black people. So they're saying, keep growing the community, like keep having babies because, the more, strength in numbers. There's, so that's kind of what I was thinking. That is, you have to be a large and be a progressive and out there, and you'll be able to accomplish things, and the white man won't be able to put all of you down, like that kind of thing. It's just to keep on growing and keep being better. I think so. It's a good message. So 4.5 on 5 as well.
All right, and then after death you get the birth.
Is and he shall be before him.
So it starts off with a little baby being born, like literally a heart monitor and stuff, and then it's a little black baby that comes out.
It sounds very painful. Like the woman is just like screaming, and like it doesn't sound like an easy birth.
And then he's born, and then Dr. Khalid Muhammad comes back. You know, the black man and black woman have no further, no beginning, no ending before Alpha and after Omega. History and historians will record the black father and mother of morality, medicine, music, mathematics, the father and mother of all nation, religiously, art, science, and civilization. No further. All they can say about the black man is he was, he is, and he shall be. Before him, there were none, and after him there will be no more. Before we can go make a way for the peacemaker, we must kill and get rid of the peace breaker. Oof. So this is interesting to me because something I guess that in my more ignorant days that really bothered me was this idea of black history and the need for it, and why this was such like a prevalent topic that kept appearing in my Facebook timelines. And I was just like, history is history, what the fuck is this nonsense? But I was a little bit ignorant then, and I realized,
But it's not just the history, it's also like the culture, embracing like everything.
I mean, to me, history encompasses all of it. Like, your culture is just the summation of your history.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you do look into the history of the world as taught by this government, this culture, this Western world, you know, let's say the conquerors of the slave trade side of things, we don't have to look further than our very own Quebec for how insignificant black people are as far as Quebec is concerned, right? We have a significant population, and if you were to read the history, it's like there isn't a black person. Like, there was never slaves, like none of this happened. It just isn't there. It wasn't relevant to Quebec historians.
Yeah.
So I don't have to look farther than my home. Okay, Quebec's racist as fuck. We don't have violence, but we are racist as fuck when it comes down to the truth of this province and how they act and behave. Like, at an almost institutional level. Like, politicians is getting clips saying some nonsense. So you can only imagine how much they care about. Do you know how many freaking places in Quebec literally have the French version of the N-word in the name? It's like today. I mean, I believe there's petitions trying to change some of it, or maybe they recently did, but like, it's whack what Quebec can be like sometimes. I digress. So when I see this, I take from it that like, we don't have our culture and our history, and we don't exist in the eyes of these people who have painted us in a certain landscape to suit their purposes and their conscience. So as long as they exist, we cannot be. Therefore, the only way to create peace and have what we deserve almost is to eliminate the oppressor. Which makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean, I understand how a lot of the times the target is white people in this type of messaging, but to me, like, I see the threat that they see in different ways playing out all over. Maybe different magnitudes, but there's right. There are people out there in charge who deliberately thrive on the chaos of today, who deliberately want us dumb, divided, and willing to fuck each other up. They don't care what we are. They don't. Poor white, in the eyes of like the real elite, in their mind, they want all of us to like end up being in the same situation of the suppression. Now, the way the system is stacked, a lot of people get fucked over more than other people, and that is some bad stuff. And it seems like there's an active force to prevent actual and relevant social change because nobody updates the education systems, and like the real like crux of the problems, like school and teaching people shit, like that isn't really talked about or whatever. I digress. I don't know if that was a little bit too much or too off the mark or whatever, but it got me thinking about a lot of the things that I see as kind of problematic, you know? And then just like to counter it off, you got this active movement of people who see any active movements towards maybe self-control, which is what I think a lot of people are asking for. Self-control in how you treat people, self-control in your thoughts and minds and whatever, and then manifest it like, oh, fuck them, they're taking away my right to be a dick. The world is complicated right now, and I don't understand why people need to make it like that, but whatever. That's the world we're in. People don't like history,
yeah.
Like, right? So as I was saying, when I dug into the history, I kind of got off track there, but when you dug into the history, you realize like just how whitewashed it really is, like how insignificant black people are, and it's like, that's just not true. Like, it's just not the reality. When you start seeing how many amazing black people there are throughout history have accomplished so many great shits that were never brought up in my school, it's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, really, what the fuck? You know, how did this come to be? Anyway, that's what I took from this song. I thought it was a very powerful message, and it flowed well to start off the second concept and let me know that, I suppose, I don't know, a lot of people might find that he was racist in a nice little bit, or there's some racism here, but I just don't really see it. I see this as a guy who's trying to, like, describe the situation from the position of a bunch of people who are getting fucked over by another group of people.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, yeah, he pretty much went through the whole like bottom part, and through like the, you know, there was the birth at the beginning, and I think it's interesting that, you know, it is significant that, you know, this is like a boy at this point, because we do kind of talk about you know, black women in another song. So this is sort of like, you know, the issues that kind of men have to go through. And obviously, you know, Ice Cube's a guy, so he's going to talk about his issues. And I like how it ends with, before we can make a way for the peacemaker, we must kill and get rid of the peacebreaker. And I think that this is significant into what it and important, and like, you know, as you would have to listen to it as an album in order to like catch kind of what he's talking about further. And I think that he's talking about the peace breakers are the army, and so he wants to kind of destroy the army.
That really does flow well into the next track.
Yeah. So I think that that's kind of what it is, before that they can have real peace. Like, the army is just a bunch of killers, like, but like, you know, or what they can be looked at like that. And
I think it's more the government.
And yeah, and like the way that they, like, you know, I guess this was, you know, 1991 or whatever. And I'm sure it's still quite like that. Like, I don't really know how the army works in the States and like all the technicalities and things like that. But the way that they find who they're looking for, as we will find out, is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So anyways, I think it's great, and it transitions well into the next song. 4.25 on 5.
All right, the next song is something many of us, I think, feel sometimes. I want to kill Sam.
Gat in his mouth, pump 17 rounds, make his brains hang out. Cause the shit he did was.
So now the tone has shifted on this album. I mean, Ice Cube still's kind of doing the same Ice Cube thing. Like, I'll be honest, I love it because I don't ever get tired of Ice Cube doing the Ice Cube thing. But he more or less has like one or two flows on this project, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like what he does, it's not too diverse, but
like
I like what he does.
But the reason I think he can do that is because when you really listen to what he has to say, it's almost like he can't go fast and tricky because his message is too important. And he's got this good upbeat cadence. Don't get me wrong, I like it because he's
always aggressive and like hard.
And it's fun, especially when he's aggressive and hard on girl songs.
Yeah.
But in this case, though, the tone of the subject matter is flipped, and that's what's incredible about Ice Cube, is just how much content he brings to the table when you look into, like, a modern world, and we discuss stuff like content, which was a hot topic in hip-hop last year. It's like I'm looking at this, and I'm like, maybe there is a issue with vapid content matter. And what I mean is, name 2 songs on this album that were the same, subject matter-wise. That's right, there were none. That's 20 tracks. Everything is completely unique and moving a story along in a progressive way. Mm-hmm. As Bonnie pointed out, it flows proper into this one, where Uncle Sam is obviously the United States government, to people who might not know. And
well, I think it's more like, I don't know if it's technically the government, like how people think of it, or more like,
I mean, to me, when
like,
I hear,
just like, I always think of the army when I think
like
of Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam wants you to join the army. So Uncle Sam is like the government personified into this mascot, and then to support the government. Because, like, look, in verse 3 of this song,
to support the government. Okay, that makes sense.
Now at 91, you want to tax me. I remember the son of a bitch used to axe me and hang me by a rope till my neck snapped. Not a sneaky motherfucker want to ban rap. Like, as the army's not banning rap. That was the government that was banning rap. You know, that was maybe certain activist groups and whatnot. So, like, this, I believe, is Ice Cube basically taking shots directly at the government, but, you know, pulling in, like, with the fact that there's drafts, and he's, you know, like, that was a powerful part, you know. in the first interlude between the first and second verse, Mama, some at the front door, sit your ass down. I have reason to believe that someone in his house has turned 18. Am I correct? Like, I don't know if that happens still. Like, I don't know a lot about this.
But like, that's some like shady shit. Like, did the army show up at white people's doors like when they turned 18, or are they targeting them to again like get rid of them? Like, it's just like another way that they're able to dispose of black people, especially black men.
Yeah, I mean, in the first verse, we see the expression of being, he feels like frustrated with the situation. I want to kill him because he played me like the trick, but you see, I'm the wrong to fuck with. I got the A to the motherfucker in K and it's ready to rip. Slammed in my banana clip and I'm looking. Is he in Watts, Oakland, Philly, Brooklyn? It seems like he got the whole country behind him, so it's got sort of hard to find him. And it's like you just picture Ice Cube, real mad, combing through the whole neighborhood, all the different places, looking for Uncle Sam or this villain, this person that's behind it all, to like take him out because he did some uncalled for shit, you know? And then it was honestly the second verse. That's why I want to kill the punk, because he tried to take a motherfucking chunk of the funk. He came to my house, I let him bail in because he said he was down with the LM. He gave me a little dap and turned around and pulled out a gat. I knew it was a caper. I said, please don't kill my mother. So he raped her, tied me up outside, and I was thrown in a big truck and it was packed of like sardines full of who fell for the same scheme, took us to a place that made us work. And then you're like, is he talking about slavery? I think he's talking about slavery. And this whole verse is like, oh shit, he's describing kind of in a more modern sense through like a parable metaphor way. And the fact that you can say Ice Cube's telling parables and shit like the Bible is why he can get away with not having to fuck up his flow that much, because it's more interesting to just hear him do his thing. Anyway, and then one of the things that I've thought about a lot recently is the idea of gods, and just how every culture has a god that looks like them but black people, because white people subjugated them, and like Jesus didn't look like Cesare Borgia, right? Cesare Borgia is the guy that you see as the Roman Catholic Jesus. He's an actual person in history, and he did a lot of whatevers. He was pretty significant. He's really cool. You should look into Cesare Borgia, the person, the character. How he became deified as Jesus, I have no fucking idea. But there's a good chance that Jesus in the Middle East wasn't a honky. Throwing it out there. Pretty good. I've been to Israel. It's just, there wasn't a lot of people who look like me over there, because I turned fucking red. People like me can't survive in Israel. We would never. You just couldn't have white people as white as Cesare Borgia up in Israel. I'm just saying. And then, like in the third verse, you can burn your cross and I'll burn your flag, which is powerful, bringing in the KK, or because you the devil in drag, you can burn your cross. And I was like, oh, because the KKK types, they're basically a bunch of white motherfuckers dressed up in drag. If you really think about it, it's a dress, okay? That is what that shit is. And then, you try to give me HIV so I can stop making babies like me, because there is this, I can't call it fact, we'll call it an idea, that the government is the result of why there is HIV, and it was deliberately spread through the hoods to essentially prevent black people from breeding.
Another way
like to
get
destroy
rid of
people,
black people.
And it's not like implausible, because the government did all sorts of shit. Like there's like actually like experiments and stuff where they would just be like, yeah, we're gonna give this group of black people cancer. Like that happened. There was at least one documented incident of the government giving a bunch of black people cancer or something like that just to see what would happen. Are you fucking like kidding? Like, anyway. So yeah, then we know. So bitch, you can fight your own wars and see if you're a man in red, white, and blue. And that's an interesting point too, because they sent out these poor black kids to die. They pitched the army as this great opportunity for them after creating the environment where they're starved to the point where, the army becomes an appealing option. Like I didn't have to go to the army myself, because there's just too many options. The army sounds like you're desperate. I mean, not to those of you that are out there watching this that were totally down for the army and just wanted to join it. All love for you. I was in cadets. I got no beef with the army.
I'm very supportive of the army. But
this is more the solicitation of a group of people, because the black guys can die and that's totally okay. And fuck it, we'll use them as cannon fodder and we'll make sure the white dudes become captains. Like, that's a different situation, all right? So I thought this was a powerful song. I thought it was well done. It got my brain thinking, and it made me so fucking glad I've read a lot of the stuff I've read over the last couple of years. So 4.5 on 5.
Yeah. So I mean, it starts off with like, you know, what you would think is maybe like a sergeant or whatever who is like, you know, calling out like, "Do you want to join the army? It's the only way out." Blah, 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 blah. Like basically just like kind of saying that kind of thing. Like just trying to recruit black men, and probably like going to like the hoods and going to the black schools and like going to like, you know, where black people are. Like they're probably purposely targeting like those areas and those people.
Yep, that's a motorcycle. Anyway.
It's summer. And yeah, basically saying like this is the only way that, you know, that you'll get education, that you'll make money, that you'll have a job, like that you'll be able to do something of value. And then at the end, like another guy says, because we do more, like a soldier, I guess. He says, because we do more before 7 a.m. than most blanks do in their whole lifetime. Which is a pretty like harsh statement. You know, essentially coming from a white guy. That's what it sounds like. And like that's like, you know, like saying like, you know, you're not going to do anything with your life, so you might as well join the army. Like just like being like that blunt with it. Like you're only going to like cause harm to society. Like, you know, like that kind of like thought process, which is like insane, but like not. I mean, it's probably not that untrue. What he's saying. And so anyways, so him trying to find and kill Uncle Sam and saying like he's not my uncle. And then there's like this, you know, like skit like you were saying where somebody turns like 18. I just think it's just like crazy, just like another way to like destroy black people. And, you know, Ice Cube continues the song, and it seems that it was just a scam just to like, you know, round up and kill, you know, send black people to the army to like fight, you know, their fights for them. And then Uncle Sam rapes his mom, or like the guy at the door or whatever. But I think it's Uncle Sam. So like that's like, I mean, rape is another way that you can, you know, like that's going to like just, you know, if there's a baby produced, like then that's going to be a way of whitening down the black society. Like that's another form of infiltration, of war tactics that are, you know, there's proof of worldwide. So like that's a kind of thing again, and also the fact that like black women are fetishized, you know, so much, and like they're looked at as like exotic or whatever, and like they're more shapely and, you know, curvy often, so, and like, you know, different from what white people tend to look like, although these days women are just buying their butts and stuff, so that's an interesting whole other topic. Yeah, so the government, the government wants to take his like tax money, he says, and then realizes that the government only uses it to do like these kinds of programs which take away black people. It's just like, you know, and kills them. His tax money isn't going to anything that's beneficial to him. It's only going to things that are going to hurt him and his community and his you know, his people, and so he's just saying like it doesn't, you know, he doesn't support them, and he's like, fight your own wars like white people, like, you know, it's, yeah. And then like the end references, like, you know, we've gone nowhere in 200 years, you know, and black people are still slaves to the men, and then this is just like another way.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Why Kanye get in so much trouble for poorly articulating the exact same idea? Is it because he poorly articulated the idea?
Because people love laughing at Kanye.
But like, it's not. Ice Cube said it.
Wasn't it? But he also likes saying things that get him attention. But wasn't it like? I know that there's a timing or whatnot. But if the idea is expressed in the early 90s and the mid 90s as from multiple sources, from people we've seen to be on this end of it. Now, I'm not saying it's a correct idea, and I don't feel that I'm the right person to be here commenting on whether or not Kanye West, but as an observer of the situation. I just don't necessarily think he should have said it on public TV.
But like, I don't understand. I mean, is it literally the verbiage he used and people couldn't look past the specific word choice that he made and couldn't listen to what he was trying to say? Is that what the situation is? Because, again, when I heard that 200 years we haven't progressed, I was like, that's kind of like what Kanye said. Now, I know that the specific word choice is different, but I don't think that Kanye specifically meant that slavery is literally a choice.
And I think something that also ties into all of that is that, later on we will find that there's another song that kind of talks about being that, Black people are, he's basically saying, we need to look at ourselves as well because we're not completely innocent.
That song
but like that's a whole other thing. So I think it all kind of ties in together that, yes, I think that there is obviously a lot of things stacked against them. Very obvious that there's so many things just trying to get rid of them and situations and whatever. But I think that, it is also like how can they be better as like a community and like rise up and I think that's pretty much it. As, the usual. But anyways, that's pretty much how it ends. And still angry and, obviously fair enough. And just like, the overall discussion of some really shitty tactics of the United States government. I think so. I give it a 4.5 on 5 as well.
All right. The next song is called Horny Lil Devil.
African breasts, 'cause white bitches have no butt and no chest. Black.
Before we get into the song, and I understand where the song's coming from. I appreciate the whole sentiment of the song. But the part where he says white dudes can't fuck at all, bro, that's not true. But let's get into the song now. Because I know enough dudes who have jungle fever and completely fetishize black women and like treat them like just a trophy and shit like that. That, man, like this song is total validation to a situation, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if like, so I think it was like, I don't know, one of the books I was reading was describing how back in the day, white man would specifically go fuck the black whores in Harlem and whatnot because they were cheaper. And you could like save money by fucking the black ladies, and just, but it like created this fetishization that basically a lot of the reason a lot of these white guys, even way back, would just go into these neighborhoods is to fuck their women.
Yeah, but I'm sure it started off obviously as a power thing because, white man had so much power over black people at, if we go back, a long time.
And then absolutely.
Well, not that long, I guess.
Well, yeah, but no, in hundreds of years for sure. There's been this, and then in slavery times, there's all the rape situations that are attached to it. But like even in the modern era, like there's a lot of people who almost look at a black girl and they don't see a human or a woman. They see a big butt, some fat boobies, let's say, and they just assume a whole bunch of shit about her. They expect her to behave in certain ways, obviously because she's black or whatever, and then I guess there's that idea that, some people are into the idea people should fuck within their own ethnicities and other people want to fuck whatever. But I remember being younger and we used to brag about shit like all the countries we'd fucked. And like as dudes, we would like compare notes on all the different women of different, cultures, and we like who could get all the continents first kind of thing, right? I know it sounds terrible.
I guess it's like a dumb guy thing to do.
It is, but black girls is totally in that thing. Black girls is like a fetish status that's there.
If you were really truly trying to do that, then it wouldn't just be black girls. So I think that it's not necessarily that they're certainly fetishized, but you would have a lot of different kinds
to
of
that
girls.
Point, it never really went deeper than black girls. Just to that point, it was just, yeah, fuck the black girl. Yeah, buddy, was she good? What's fucking a black girl like? Oh, black girl. Like, these are real conversations I had when I was younger. Okay,
we were friends back then.
No, we were just young, horny, 20-year-old dudes in that side of the life, So I'm gonna say, while a lot of my friends were black when I was younger, there was totally patches in my life where it was me and a bunch of white dudes talking a bunch of white dude shit back when we were young and dumb. And so when I hear this, it's like, Horny Little Devil, you gotta back up. Horny Little Devil, you can't bust a nut. Look at my girlfriend's black skin, you wanna jump in, but she don't like white men, so don't flirt at work, you fucking jerk, or get your punk devil ass motherfucker. She ain't with the pale face, cause y'all fuck at a snail's pace. Now, I have dated black girls, so I know that that is not 100% true, but I get the point he's trying to convey, especially in the tone of like a white boss or authority figure who's just like, you must do it. You're just almost inferior, or again, fetishizing them for whatever. Oh, she got a big butt. Let me come pinch that because I can, you know? Where I'm from, devils get their ass kicked, Mr. Sexual Harassment, asking for a blow, and the answer is fuck no. And then, you know what? In the 90s, early 90s, I imagine there was a lot more sexual harassment from these cocaine power dudes that are flowing around and probably acting like a whole bunch of shit. African breasts, because white bitches ain't have no butt and no chest. Nah, nowadays they do. Black women have, nowadays it's like everybody has a lot more shape. If anything, the black lady aesthetic that is being described by Ice Cube in this song, as Bonnie I think brought up on the last track, has actually become the modern beauty norm for all women. That's some crazy shit.
And I think that that's kind of like relating to like kind of what this whole song is because it's, you know, essentially they want to get rid of all of the men and then just have, you know, their beautiful women left so that they can just like have sex with them. And like it's just like, I don't know. And I think that, like, you know, Horny Little Devil, it still could be Uncle Sam. It could be like a continuity of the last song.
Well, I think it's like, it is for sure related, but then in this case it's like, because the devil's a savage motherfucker, because that's why I'm lighter than your average brother, because you raped our women and we felt it, but it'll never happen again if I can help it. At the end of the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he has an epilogue that describes racial breeding in Jamaica, where black folk were taught to fuck whiter. If your kid is whiter, your kid will have a better life and shit.
Well, I think that that's, you know, a lot of places. I think that's why a lot of, you know, like cultures bleach their skin, which is like crazy, just to be whiter. But
he makes like an interesting point. If you hadn't raped our women, I wouldn't be so light skinned. I would be a lot more in touch with what my ancestors looked like. Anyway, and then verse 2, it flips it to calling Uncle Sam a fag because he's describing all the ways that the black man is fucked by the government. Fucked by, in this case, I really do think it is about Uncle Sam again.
Yep.
Had me broke, eating spammed and canned goods, locking down on my neighborhoods, treat me less than a man because you know the upper hand, but my ass is a virgin. You might have fucked the Indians, but you can't surgeon me. Man.
And like I think that that's an important thing that he points out, that there's other cultures that you know may have had it, you know, just as bad or worse than them, or in different ways. And he mentions the Indians.
And everybody knows what happened to the Native American folk and the absolute slaughter and genocidal nonsense that went on back in the day. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at it, I mean, white people have been historically known to destroy things that don't look like them. So evidently, you know, from this position, he's going, this is some fucked up shit. The white man is a devil. Now, do I think the white man's a devil? No. It's definitely strong Nation of Islam language. But do I think there's a group of white men that are devils? Fuck yes. Yeah. Like, absolutely. Like, the people he's talking about are real. I don't think everybody's that, but I think that in my ignorance, I can be a devil in moments where I don't even realize it. Yeah. Even on this very podcast, how do I know that? On an episode, I don't say some bullshit that convinces some dude of some shit that ends up being wrong.
Just because it's, you know, how we perceive life.
I mean, I think I do a good job of priming my shit, but like, it's still truth of it. Anyway, and then he just kind of ends up, and I would, because this is the Watts riot, 1991, and I'm going to get my gun, put an end to the devil, so get a fucking shovel. And it's like, I looked at the Watts riot because I wasn't sure what it was. It was one of, I guess, back in Watts in the 60s, there was a police brutality case that resulted in a riot similar to, I guess, Rodney King situation. And I guess he's using this track as like a call to arms again of saying these people have fucked us. This devil needs to go.
And it's still happening
back the fuck
today.
Up. And if you think about it, a horny little devil could also be like Satan with horns and that other non so accurate way of describing him. The Bible says he's beautiful as all anything. He clearly isn't that red motherfucker if he's real. Like seriously, go look at how religion describes it, and it's very different than how pop culture describes them.
I went to a devil museum in Lithuania, I believe. And like that was fascinating, learning how all the different cultures like interpret the devil, or like different myths and like things that are taught about the devil. It was pretty cool.
But yeah, so he's basically implying in this that Uncle Sam's a homo for the way he fucks him up. And then we get a tie-in for the next song, because when shit's getting fucked up in chaos, he goes, go down to the corner store and beat the Jap up, clean the crap up my city. Now the whole block looks shitty, put his dick on a wood chop, and then I guess ICP jacked this shit. Swing, 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 and chop, chop, chop. And it was just like, yo, to bring in the fact that it's like we got to clean up our neighborhoods and retake them and make them our own, because this is fucking problematic. And again, this was a really good song. It touched on some, we'll call it sensitive subject matters, and I could see how a lot of people are going to be like, yo, this shit racist as fuck. There's literally a Genius comment that goes, this shit's racist as fuck. But I'm going,
It's just pro-black.
if like you don't really know the language and you don't really understand why he's using devil or what's going on with it, I can see how you feel that way. But if you know the history
But there's also
of
like
what led to this song,
genuine anger.
this is just strong. It's no different than any other person who's ever made anything shocking ever in any field. And it's just as intelligent as good satirical, shocking things are supposed to be. So it's dope.
Okay.
Did you give a grade on this?
No. So yeah, I mean, it's basically just about like white guys like want to fuck black girls, but like the black girls are like, you know, they don't want any of that, you know, or you know, that's kind of like how he's, you know, talking about it, and then saying that, you know, black girls are built like goddesses, you know, they're so beautiful and then voluptuous and, you know, lovely or whatever, and unlike white girls that have no boobs or asses. I'm like, I beg to differ. Thank you very much.
You've got boobs.
I'm working on the ass, okay? I'll do some squats. Ice is basically like, you can't like fuck whoever you want anymore. Like, he's had enough of this. Like, he's standing up and protecting his, you know, like the women and like his community and like his people. And, you know, he's like, if you come in, like, I'll shoot you. Like, basically, like, you know, I'll destroy you. Like, you can't do this to like, you know, our women, like, you know, sisters or mothers or our cousins or family members, or, you know, or the people that, you know, your neighbors. So he's just basically like angry at white guys for taking advantage of their women and like isn't putting up with their shit anymore. And so I gave this a 4 on 5. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't like necessarily the greatest on here, but it's still good.
I
obviously.
just have to say,
4 is not a bad grade.
Conceptually, it's one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
I thought it was so cool, like in terms of what it said and how he twisted it all. And again, if you look at the history, what he's saying, it's true.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it didn't necessarily. It wasn't my favorite.
That's fair. Why don't we talk about Black Korea?
Okay.
So don't follow me up and down your market. All your little chop suey ass will be a target.
So I used to live across the street from a little corner store that was owned by a Chinese guy, and he really hated black people. Like, he really would just be like, oh, the black people, they all stare. And they would come in the store and he would watch them. And in fact, you know what the thing is all the Chinese stores are in all the black neighborhoods, because I've mostly ended up living in poorer neighborhoods.
It's true. I feel like the only people that have ever probably like I don't know, I'm not gonna like generalize necessarily, but like a lot of the time whenever I have had instances where I've been like watched in a store, like followed and making sure I'm not stealing, like very like obviously, it definitely seemed to be like Asians. I don't know. Maybe they just don't discriminate.
Nobody's ever done that to me. This
Really?
just never happened. But I've watched them do it to the black people. I'm in the store. I've watched like people give me like credit, black people no credit. Like, this guy would not give credit to a black person. He would give credit to all the poor white people in the hood, but would not do it to the black people, because, you know, if you live there long enough, you get to know all the people who go to the store. Anyway, So that was some real shit. And so when we got to this store, and then you think about stuff like how the distribution of wealth via ethnicity within a culture and a neighborhood, and how the dollar doesn't stay in the black community for more than, 6 hours? Like every black dollar stays in the black community for 6 hours, which
that's
is
crazy.
insanity, all things considered. And one of the big sources of something like this is, imagine the only store you can go to buy your little produce or whatever is this Korean place. So that means that you're taking the Korean people set up there, and then all the money that goes into them is not from Korean dollars. It's from, impoverished black neighborhoods. People who are obviously going to go to that corner store because it's more convenient and just shit like that. And so he's just got a little angry verse here where it's like, I'm forced to go to these stores. They're fucking almost everywhere. And the way they treat me, it's like, even though I come in, it's like all the time I'm buying my fucking beer all the time. Every single time they treat me like I'm going to do some bad shit,
Yeah.
And if they don't behave a little bit better and, stop acting shitty, they're going to create this nationwide boycott, which never came to fruition. But there were boycotts that were happening at that time, even though the nationwide one, and it wasn't just in New York, it was, or I guess this isn't New York, this is fucking LA.
Yep.
Sorry. It was in New York as well, and all over that these boycotts were happening. So this is a serious thing. It's like the various Asian groups targeted black neighborhoods to open their store, and instead of paying respect, just treat them like fucking dogs as they rape the fucking financial situation of a community.
Yeah, I think that they in that sense, like, maybe they're also like convinced of it because of white people, and like because like they're also, I don't know, like I don't understand the hate towards black people from Asians. Like,
I don't know. I think it's just everyone seems to put black people down in a lot of cases. Or they just assume that they're going to be broke, that they're going to steal, that they're going to do this. They're just going to assume the worst of all of them. So it's like one black guy robs something, all the black people could do it now. And it's just the way they treat, is just people treat them different, especially if you're in these neighborhoods where they deliberately open up shop. But yeah, it's a pretty powerful song, and I gave it a 4.5. Apparently he got in a lot of trouble for this track after the riots, or not long after, people were beating the fuck out of Koreans after this song came out, and he got blamed. And I kind of get why people might assume that is the case, but nah, I think maybe people beat up the Koreans because the Koreans wasn't being real nice to them, and Ice Cube maybe said, we shouldn't take this shit, and so some people stood up for them.
just kind of brought it to attention, I guess.
But I wasn't there. In 92, I was in daycare, and I was in Montreal, so I don't know what was really going on in LA back then. But yeah, it's a 4.5 to me.
Yeah. So actually, I think it was this whole song is, or part of it at least, is about the killing of a 15-year-old black girl, which happened in 1991, named Latasha Harlins, who was killed by a 51-year-old Korean woman in her family's convenience store, all because this woman thought that she was stealing a bottle of orange juice. So that's why this poor girl ended up dying because of that. And so that's the kind of racism and just brutality and that black people have to face just going to these stores because they're their only options, and these people are literally killing them and thinking constantly that they're trying to steal. Not everybody is trying to steal. And so I think that this is obviously a bigger statement. They're saying something has to stop, and I'm not surprised they rioted after this. This is a pretty powerful song just to kind of remind people hey, this is what happened, and this is who we're giving our money to, and this is our only option. So something has to change, and basically that kind of thing. And But I didn't really like know too much about this story. Like I had never heard of this story actually of Latasha Harlins, and so this is definitely somebody that I'm going to look into, a story that I'm going to look further into because it's just ridiculous. And Ice Cube and probably a lot of people were very angry that this woman that killed this 15-year-old black girl didn't get any jail time for this, for what happened, having, first degree murder or I guess maybe a second degree murder, I guess, I don't know. And I think it was just like, she got like, a slap on the wrist kind of thing. So it's just ridiculous that, this whole situation happened. So he definitely feels like he's being watched in the stores, and he kind of talks about that, and they always are just trying to steal, and they're always just being watched closely, and I get it. Like you don't want to be in a store and like have somebody like looking at you all weird, like eerily or whatever, like over your shoulder, like, and making you feel uncomfortable, like you can't do anything, like you have to like you're not wanted there essentially. But like I don't know, it's just like a crazy situation to be in. I give the song a 4.25 on 5, but the story in it is great.
All right, well, the truth is you got to be true to the game.
That's right.
Move to the snow. As soon as y'all get some dough, you wanna put
This has like this like super smooth beat. It's a single. It's got the whole music video and everything going for it. And this is Ice Cube kind of calling out the black folk who basically kind of get famous or whatever and leave the hood and do what they can to become associated with the white folk and assimilate into their culture. Basically, he's mad at the token black guy in every white girl sitcom that shows up there and is like just best friends and wears like all the polo shirt, not like the colored whatever, and you're just like, yeah, you're there because the TV people had to put you there, not because they were really thinking, like. Mm-hmm. But, you see people who behave like that. I'm not really judging anybody for doing anything here. I'm just trying to describe who I understand to be the target of this song. And then he has a little intro where it's almost like, you said that motherfucker that betrayed your homeboys and you ain't shit. I think that's apparently about Eazy-E and the crew and NWA or whatever. So he's real mad at some folk. And then he comes in. It's the you love to hate with a new song, so it really goes on. Nothing but a come up, but ain't that a bitch? They hate to see a young rich, but I refuse to switch even though, because I can't move to the snow. Because as soon as y'all have some dough, you want to put a white bitch on your elbow. So, he's on the come up. He's doing well. Life's going good. People are hating, but honestly, they're hating because when they get rich, they bounce out and they go live this whole other life. They start dating white girls. And there are a large number of really rich black dudes, percentage-wise, that seem to be dating white girls. Like, it's almost like a trend to a point where, like, I've seen several memes that have kind of identified this in current pop culture.
I think it's also like, this is this is a whole other kind of side tangent, but it definitely plays into the sex industry and into the porn industry, and how there isn't that much, given, space given to black women, and how a lot of black women are seen as like unwanted, or like something that is like taboo, or like whatever. Like it's, I don't know, like a lot of people are like not interested in it, and they want to, like, they have this, I think it's just like that, skinny perfect little blonde girl is sort of like the image that you often see in like porn. I guess I've
heard a lot of it has to do with attitude. They don't want to put up with a certain attitude, so they go find some subservient white girl that wants to conquer a black guy and go assimilate into a different culture. Yeah. But again, it feels weird to talk about this shit because, like, I'm only really looking at this from my perspective, from all the stuff I've heard, and I've heard quite a lot of stuff on this particular subject. Mm-hmm. I did date a black girl, and so she got the same kind of stuff for dating me because I'm a white dude, and a lot of people weren't thrilled with her for that. Yeah. But yeah, and then the verse kind of flows in, and it's just kind of calling this person a sellout for trying to like change your values so that you're equal to white. Like being white has these better values, like this is superior, and you know, if you're not careful, your ghetto pass gonna get revoked, so you better not fuck that shit up, because it's like you're not welcome around here no more. You went and flipped the script on everything. And then, you know, there's a little break where it's like, you think we forgot? Nah, people didn't forget. We saw what you did. Then the second verse, according to the music video, is about MC Hammer, where it's like, I mean, what's crazy, it's more related to another song, like the next song, because I ended up watching this, like, the next song has to do with gangs and has a bunch of people on it, but a couple years before this album, all the West Coast peoples put together this like anti-gang anthem, to which MC Hammer sounds like this fucking gangster on it. Like he has that more gangster rap. You saw him, he's still a little shiny clothes, but like the way he was rapping, I'm like, whoa, that isn't can't touch this, do 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 do. Like it was just a different flow. So when I heard this, I'm like, oh yeah, MC Hammer, he kind of was harder than he ended up being music-wise. Now I've heard stories where MC Hammer was like gangster in real life, and like if you dissed him, he would show up and like with a squad full of goons and beat the fuck out of you. So Hammer, if you're watching, don't come after me. But
Goons.
This whole verse is like, you started off doing your thing, and then I guess it wasn't like good enough for you or quick enough, so you flipped from hardcore hip-hop to your mainstream stuff, and boy, can we call MC Hammer mainstream and flossy, and in a sense, it's like he did kind of contribute a lot to bringing hip-hop to a lot of white people who never cared and never would care about the culture. So in a sense, it took something almost pure and brought it to an MTV, and he played as their star, their little monkey that danced around, and then they discarded him and just kept putting more and more and more people. And to this very day, we still have this same phenomenon coming in. So, you know, he just like, when they discard you, you're gonna have no more white fans, no more soul. You might have a heart attack when you find out the black folks don't want you back. And you know what's worse? He was just like, in the first verse, stop selling out your race and wipe that stupid ass smile off your face. Always gotta show the teeth, but now I'm gonna be brief, be true to the game. So it's like, stop smiling, stop pretending, stop like playing the role that is almost expected of us in order to make it in this industry. Be real to who you are and true to who you are. Now, maybe I can't relate to a lot of different things, but I know exactly what the fuck it feels like to walk to a place like corporate America and be told day in, day out, like, this is how you gotta sell out. And you can't be true to yourself, man. People don't want that in life, no matter who you are. But, like, in a sense, it is kind of weird to, like, go into this next social sphere of life, or to go from, like, a certain place, and then all of a sudden you're a new sellout type person. Like, I could never convince the upper class that I don't come from poor. Like, I could never do it. So why would I bother trying it? I'll be fake forever if I ever did. I will always have this weirdness to me that, like, I can't, you know, like, and then if I was black, holy shit, man, I could never be perceived as a white person, because white people are like that. They really just are. We'll just all, like, it's the people who we like to have black friends. A lot of white people do, but a lot of people do it in a sense, in the same fetishization sense that we got in the last track. Anyway, then you get the next verse, which kind of pulls this out. Like, even though you're there, you'll never be accepted. They'll never like you. They're always going to joke about you. You'll always play your thing. And then you watch in the music video, well, they have this guy there, and it's like, he's just like, they make like almost like these racist jokes at him, and he's just like, oh, it's totally fine. Ha ha ha. And starts dancing. And like, the truth is, I've seen homosexuals do that shit around straight people. I've seen black people do that shit after getting made fun of. I've seen women do that shit after getting made fun of around dudes. I've seen all sorts of groups that have to deal with this type of shit put up with it or smile. Or like, I was hanging out with this girl, and this guy was just being like creepy, like straight up making these weird jokes, kind of touching up on her, and just not appropriate, like just far enough away that, oh, I never touched her tit, but like may as well have, and you know, that kind of shit. And you're like, this is really happening. Like, there are people in the room. What are you doing, dude? And the girl just like, well, man, you just got to put up with it. Like, you just got to deal with it, because it's better than trying to fight it and seeing what happens then. So it's better to play along with their bullshit, you know, and it's easier and it lets you get to where you want to be. And it's just fucked up, man. And then at the end, a little radio announcer type person. Ice Cube practices what he preached. He continues to live in South Central Los Angeles, and he puts his money into projects that improve the neighborhood. Be true to the game. And that's true. He really is that type of dude, and he's fucking dope like that. I like the content of this song, but I totally think after the last few, sonically, this one was a little bit less good to me. Just a little bit. So I give it a 4.35. And the video is pretty dope and really fits the song. And if you haven't seen it, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically he's judging the black people that are trying to be something other than what they are. And, you know, he says, I'll just quote it, his actual line, trying to be white or a Jew, but ask yourself, who are they to be equal to? So why are we putting them on a pedestal? Why are we putting, you know, Jewish people or white people on a pedestal? And I think he's hitting on Jew particularly because of NWA and Eazy-E, you know, being affiliated with a Jewish person.
Well, almost all of entertainment seems to be invaded.
Yeah, but I think that, like, you know, their first encounter with a Jewish person was this guy, you know, like, so it probably was pretty significant to them. I don't know if that's true or not. Like, that's just like me, like, making assumptions, so my bad if that's not true. But yeah, so I think that he's just sort of like talking about how black people or black guys are played in the industry, and they are just like a paycheck for white people. Like, they're just a way for you know, a stepping stone for white people to just kind of step on them and, like, you know, get something out of them while still making more money and being more powerful from what they do. And I think that that's pretty significant, and just basically saying, like, you know, white people are not necessarily to be trusted, you know, and stop pretending to be white when you're just a black man. Basically, like, just like own up to it and just be a better black man, you know, if like that's what you want to do. You don't need to change or like become something different to just conform with whoever, you know, is I guess, like, whoever's in power and like whoever is the man that you're answering to. And it is like that kind of he kind of talks about like Uncle Tom, and it is sort of like that, you know, like, dance for me, boy, like that kind of like attitude, you know, like where, you know, black people are just seen as entertainment for white people. Like, it's not really and then to like move into like white people land and to, you know, only support white people even more and more, and like, so like all of, like, you know, if you're growing and you're making a lot of money, it's all just falling, you know, to where you are. And he's kind of saying, like, and you're not welcome back here because of what you did. Whereas, like, you know, he also, you know, it is also touched on, it is sort of like him kind of you know, I like that he's, you know, he is practicing what he preaches, and he does, you know, still, I think he still does. If not, I looked up a house that he just bought, or maybe not just bought, a few years ago, and like, it was pretty incredible, and it was in California, but I don't know if it wasn't in Compton, but like, I think, you know, he does still hang out in like Compton, and like, you know, he's definitely involved in the community and projects there and funding, and he like supports it, and so he is definitely still like involved, and like, that's why, like, you know, he's saying like, I still put like my money where my mouth is. Like, I'm still invested in the community. I'm helping it grow. I'm helping, you know, our people become better because I'm, you know, in making these projects, or, you know, I'm, you know, putting it in money into education, into healthcare, into like, you know, resources for black people, so that, you know, they can stop using drugs. So, you know, all these things that were like shoved into like these communities, he's trying to like remove all of that. And I think that that's kind of like what he's trying to do. Which is, you know, it is sort of like he's kind of like saying like, look at how great I am. Like, but he is also trying to be like a trendsetter and to be a good leader, while still kind of like showing off a bit. So I give this a 4.25 on 5.
All right. The next one on the album is called Colorblind.
If not, I'm plugging they super spoke. First they get behind.
So I mean, this track is kind of it seems to be in the vein of being an anti-gang anthem in terms of, like, you know, Ice Cube starts us off. Here's another day at a stoplight. I'm looking at my mirror so I can see you see me. South Penn Stroh's putting Ice Cube to the test with 4 brothers in SS. Can't go around, can't back up, so got a peep game laying in the cut. Is this a jack or a kidnap? Since I never ever slip it, I'm fully strapped. So, you know, you already get the sense that it's a stressful situation. He's cruising around. Maybe this car is going to come up. Is this a bad, you know, are they going to jack us? Are they going to rob us? Are they going to kill us? What's going on and whatnot? And then, you know, he grabs his gat. He's getting ready to go for a whole situation. And then, you know, as the car pulls up next to him and whatnot, and they're switching lanes and they're kind of looking at each other, he throws up a gang sign and he's like, you know what? I'll put my hand away because, you know what? I'm colorblind. I'm not affiliated with this world. I'm not attached to any of this. And you're like, that's what this song is. So a lot of people are like that. The environment's going to create the situation. And if he had thrown up the wrong sign back, that could have resulted in violence, you know?
Yep.
And when you look at the Los Angeles gang maps and you see how, like, territory can span, like, 2 blocks and to, like, go to the grocery store, it could be a death sentence. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
How, like, just crossing the alleyway might be, like, too much to, like, leave your turf. And it's just insane when you really consider the environment that is going on. And then this is, I believe, the only song that has features on it. So then Threat comes in and he kind of does his little take on it. Killer Khalid to stay where they kill over colors because brothers don't know the deal and they'll cap you not if they have to, but if they want to. First they may confront you. But every on my block can't stop, and he won't stop and he don't stop, you know? So it's like, this is an area where people will kill you over wearing the wrong color in the wrong situation. People take shit so far, and in light of the fact that, like, they want to be in this situation. It's not like people are doing it because they have to be. In some cases, people have got this lust to be this toughest or a situation, you know? And then you got these kids that he brings up that are even crazier with it because they got so much to prove to earn their value that they're almost psychotic enough to do anything with the situation just because they want to impress the older ones. Women can wear whatever colors they want. That's okay. As long as you look hot, I guess that's all right in women land. You don't have to worry about this shit. But men, a wrong color outfit could get your mouth split. And I've been told stories of, like, people who have seen shit where, like, dude walks into a hood and guy's like, yo, why are you wearing that color? I didn't know. Drop and give me fucking 20 push-ups just to show respect or I'll kick the shit out of you type stuff. It is, like, recent. People have told me stories like that, and it's like, fuck, eh? I don't know. It's a different world than what we gotta be, and even to the end, because of this danger, this guy's like, I gotta get a gun, even though I'm not affiliated with these gangs. And then this guy Cam comes out, and he's fresh out on bail, and it's like he's right back in jail because the gang situation is kind of like that. It's got all of his territories, and it's not that different than being in jail, and we can't rehabilitate people. The system's kind of fucked up. Flows on with there, and it shows that, like, you know, they're gonna come back and arrest you and throw you back in jail again in light of the fact that you're kind of going through the cycles. You're getting trapped in an environment that almost drives you crazy, but what can you do, you know? Yep. At least he's colorblind, you know? And then we have WC, who I believe goes on to join Ice Cube.
Does he know that his name means water closet, means the bathroom?
No, I don't think so. It could also be West Coast.
I'm just saying. Water
Either
closet.
way, so he's part of Ice Cube's group, which West Side Connection, I believe it's called. They're fucking fire. I like a few of the jams that came out when they were popping back in the day. And then he's bouncing off of Coolio, and this is apparently one of Coolio's first verses, and that was really fucking cool to see. I've never really heard Coolio outside of Gangsta's Paradise, and they kind of again do their same similar thing, painting out the picture. And I don't know, there wasn't a lot for me to comment on. I think it just follows suit really good. And, you know, I like how Coolio goes, I ain't contributing to genocide, as in I'm not going to be killing my own people. This black on black violence is kind of fucked up. And then, because I'm colorblind, the line before where WC is like, yo, I'm trapped in a plan designed by another side, as in probably white people have created this environment, and then, you know, why are the guns in liquor stores and everything put right next to each other so that black people can shoot each other? It's kind of whack. It is not like that in my hood, I can tell you that much. And then King T, who starts off with, in the Hood Ain't Changed, and I finally figured out that we're not in the same gang, because he was on that anti-gang anthem, We're All the Same Gang, that was where even Dr. Dre and fucking MC Ren show up on that, Ice-T, all of them are there. Like the whole, anybody you could really think of from back then showed up. Even Young MC, Tone Loc, and so it was a pretty cool track. And they had a little video for it and everything. But King T was the guy who started off that song, so I thought it was cool to be there because, you know, he flows in. Because I walk through the alleys of Compton with nowhere to run. Everywhere I turn, I get burned. This guy wears blue, this guy wears red. Put them together and we color him dead. And that was a fucking cool line because it's just what it was. And then we end up with J-Dee. And he just kind of understands how his homeboys feel because he's been shot, and to this day now he's gone pack a steel because this is the territory he was born in, and that's just what it is. And if you see these bandanas everywhere, you just got to be aware, and otherwise they're gonna die. And I thought it was a very powerful song that really painted almost the craziness of the gang situation. But in this world, it's like we can't keep doing this. We need to become colorblind to this stuff. We need to get past this situation where we feel the need to kill each other over colors. Like honestly, over colors, over just, you were born 3 blocks that way, so now you're my enemy over some shit from one point in time.
It's a very like Romeo and Juliet kind of bullshit.
And it's crazy because like the Crips is what, community resistance in progress, and started as a means to like help the community. It was a positive force in the beginning, and I believe the Bloods is the same kind of story. And then along the way shit got fucked up, probably through the FBI interventions and shit. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we look into it, it's like we'll find out there's some story related to the government taking out the community leaders, assassinating them, making sure the youth don't have guidance, throw some crack in the hood, give them some guns, let them see what happens. Anyway, this track's a 4.5. I really liked it.
Yep. I mean, basically, this is, you know, him and his crew, and, you know, and they all have, like, similar experiences to, like, what he's talking about. Like, they all kind of understand, you know, like, the gang issues and the violence and, you know, life in the hood and the realities of that. And he's kind of playing, he plays the game in the streets, but he doesn't do anything to encourage violence. You know, like I think he, you know, at least for me, he looks like a tough guy. You know, as much as I just want to like probably just go hug him. He kind of looks kind of like he's kind of got that, you know, resting bitch face, I guess we can call it, where he just kind of looks angry all the time. And, you know, but he has like, you know, I don't know, there's something about like, maybe it's just because he's played that part since like he came into the spotlight. He's played that like hood kid, so, and you know, and like he's continuing it, like he's still him, you know, and I think that that's kind of cool. But like, so anyways, so I don't think that like, you know, he looks tough, he looks like he's from Compton. I guess he kind of looks like everybody else and follows like that kind of style of whatever's happening there, or just like the West Coast style. But he doesn't, you know, he doesn't engage in like any of sort of like the violent activity. And he tries to like avoid gang members and tries to, you know, and if he does have to like deal with them or encounter them, he tries not to obviously do anything that's going to like instigate any sort of, you know, rivalry or whatever. And he's just kind of like, you know, like, you know, they're all sort of just like, we're colorblind, like we're not going to pick sides. Like this is, you know, this is not like, we're not involved in any of that. Like we're here and we're just like citizens like of this like community. And like, you know, we just want to like, be cool and like that's it. And so, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. And it's like a slower kind of song than the others, at least in terms of like the general sort of flows. I mean, but it was a nice song, like, you know, him and his buds. And but in reality, it wasn't my favorite song on the on the album, but they, you know, they can't all be my favorite. So I gave this a 4 on 5.
All right, a couple more, and the next one is definitely something I can relate to. It's doing dumb shit.
Yep.
Popping out your window with a BB gun. Better yet, knocking on your door and run. Playing hide.
So I love the beat of this track. It's upbeat, it's funky, it's fresh, it's very enjoyable to listen to, in my little humble opinion. And yeah, it's a pretty fun track. it's got 3 little verses. It starts off and he's 10, he's in 7th grade. He's describing as a little bad motherfucker playing Space Invaders, fucking with the girls in the 4th grade, either feeling on their butts or pulling on their braids. Harassing ladies as you do back in the day. And he's with the bullies, so he gained some respect. He cheated on tests. He was just a real up to like some tomfoolery. He's living like a class clown, shooting BB guns and playing hide and go seek and all sorts of good kid stuff, stealing candy until he got his ass whooped because he was 10 years old doing dumb shit. I thought that was pretty funny because it is nice to like throw back and just consider, yeah, we're all kids at one point doing some dumb shit. And then he's 13 next, and he's Jimmy Gallo of Peach Fuzz, and he started looking at girls, and then he started going to hang out in high school, trying to lie and meet some older girls who were down to fuck, and then he finally fucked some girl, and he got real excited, and it was his first time, and he had trouble putting a condom on because he does wear a condom. And he went out like a jackrabbit. He was doing his thing. And this is one of my favorite parts of this album. Then shit got strange money. I started shaking and my Jimmy felt funny. Then the nut came gushing. I jumped up, got dressed, and started pushing because I thought the bitch broke my dick because I was still young and doing dumb shit. And let's be real. If nobody ever told you how
this is
it
what
works,
sex is.
how are you supposed to really know that this is what's like going on?
Yeah.
So like, and your first time having sex is stupidly awkward. So doing something kind of silly,
And especially like, I mean, he's 13, right? He's talking about. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty like, it's still relatively young
So-
to be engaging in that.
So to do something so awkward and embarrassing, like just run out like because you thought your dick broke. I mean, it's comical, but it's also saying like, listen, if
And
your
it's
first,
probably not uncommon.
yeah, if your first time's like awkward or whatever, this is just kind of normal almost in a sense. And then in 17, he got a car and he started dragging, and then he started hanging out with even older ladies, and then they were hitting punk fools with baseball bats, fucking at a real fast rate till they said I might not graduate. So, you know, then he started getting a little more serious. Then he started rapping about the shit that he'd been through in his life, and he got real good. And then he kind of looks back at the neighborhood and he started seeing all these little kids going around doing all, you know, that are kind of bouncing around, but before they can grow up on their front page, and their mom's just having a fit because they died doing dumb shit. And it's now kind of pointing out that, like, when he was a kid, the dumb shit may have been, like, whatever, but now the dumb shit these kids are doing may be some of the shit we've been describing in the previous tracks. And so, look who's kind of dying. These kids is not maybe getting to where they need to be because of this situation. I thought it was a very powerful song, and again, super interesting to listen to, and I gave it a 5 on 5.
Yeah. So it's cute. Like at the beginning, we have like what sounds like, I guess, like his mom, calling him, like, you know, to come back home, basically, you know, and she's like, O'Shea, because, you know, that's his name, and, you know, just kind of like ignoring his mom and like just being like out doing like dumb shit instead of like being like at home doing whatever his mom wants him to do, like, you know, being watched, I guess. And maybe she's calling him because she knows that he's up to no good. And then, like, yeah, just kind of talking about him and as a kid and, like, all the shit that he got up to, and not realizing, like, you know, the nonsense that he was doing. And then, you know, he also talks about, like, you know, as he grows up, he's in school and he's with girls and other people, and he gets into more trouble, and he like smokes weed for the first time, and then he like has sex with for the first time, you know, and like obviously his reactions to what happened during sex, or like, you know, him ejaculating or whatever, was, you know, obviously just like his ignorance, or just like the fault again of like the system of like how sex works. And like that's also probably something to touch on it when, you know, we talk about like, you know, HIV and AIDS being like, you know, quite heavy in like the neighborhoods, is that also people weren't taught about sex, and there was no funding for like that kind of program. So it's just people just went in completely blind, unless their parents, who were, you know, essentially what the government wants, in jail, or you know, working 12 jobs. So it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy that these kind of things happen. Like I feel like, before 13 I had a sex ed, class, if not more than one. And anyways, so then we have him talking about at 17 and he changed himself, trying to be like more of like a rapper, and kind of kids are acting kind of like when, they're still acting like that way, like when he can kind of relate to them, like they're, he's thinking back to when he was 13 and whatever, and seeing kids do the same kind of shit, and how it just never changes, and, kids are just kids, and they're always going to be doing like this kind of stupid stuff. And just sort of about like his like comeuppance, essentially, and like how he ended up where he is, and just kind of a little bit about his story. I mean, it has a nice beat as well, so I give it a 4.25 on 5.
You know what's crazy is parents don't want the schools to teach like the kids about sex. Like in the States, they really don't. Like there's some places that have sex ed.
And a lot of places are quite religious.
But I don't care. Like in most places in the States, they don't give adequate sex ed because parents feel that it's their obligation to teach the kids. But parents were also the ones who didn't want to teach their kids to tell time. So like if parents don't really want to teach their kids to read a clock, do we really want to trust parents to teach their kids about sex at an appropriate age?
Yep.
I don't think that's fair to like life and society. So now we should be educating people. I don't know. I'm really passionate about the lack of condom statistics available in the US of A, because your government gag ordered that shit back in like 2000 for some reason. I don't know. It's fucked up that like y'all don't even study if condoms and sex education works. That's fucking regressive as fuck. That's all I gotta say.
Well, also too, like maybe like the parents, they went through the same sort of shitty system, and maybe they never got a proper sex education, and maybe never just don't really know like exactly, they know what happens, but they don't really know how like, everything works, and the terms and the names, and like
that's kind of whack that these parents can then grow up and let their kids go through the same ignorance. Like I don't know, maybe I'm smart and that's a privilege in and of itself, but like it seems pretty fucking stupid to me to like fight education for the sake of like sheltering your kids from some shit. Like sure, it's just like go ahead and ban abortions. See how that plays out in terms of stopping this phenomenon from happening.
Yeah.
Or maybe teach kids to use rubbers. It sounds like that's a hell of a lot cheaper, Alabama. Anyway, I don't have a lot more to say about this.
Let's talk about us.
Too busy jealous at each other's work, coming up just in me.
Apparently, this is the song that inspired Chris Rock's infamous Black People versus N-Words skit that was quite the rage in, I believe it was Never Scared or one of the earlier ones from then. It's the same one that Michael Scott talks about in The Office very early on as he's describing, as he recites it and pisses off everybody. Anyway, and this song like kind of takes a look at, in this case, how people perceive the black community. So could you tell me who unleashed our animal instinct and the white man sitting there tickled pink laughing at us on the avenue, busting caps at each other and having a brew? We can't enjoy ourselves, too busy jealous at each other's wells. And it's like kind of has this little criticism on the fact that there's this envy that people do seem to fuck up good times with, to a point where it makes the whole community look like a laughing stock. While I look out the window and I see the Japs grabbing every vacant lot in my neighborhood, build a store and sell their goods to the county recips, us po, nappy hair and big lips, 4 or 5 babies out your crotch, and you expect Uncle Sam to help us out. And it's like pointing out, and this was something that got played up. I mean, that he's describing the stereotype that got manipulated in the media as the welfare queen, this woman who would just have a bunch of kids to leech tax systems and shit. And he's kind of saying the stereotype couldn't have been birthed if people weren't doing it. Maybe people should stop doing it so that we don't give Uncle Sam this ammunition to paint us, in the worst possible lights.
Yeah.
And then in the second verse, he flips it, and y'all dope dealers, you're as bad as the police, because y'all kill us. You got richer when you started slanging dope, but you ain't built us a supermarket. So when you spend our money...
Again, touching back on something that he already talked about.
with the blacks too busy buying golden Cadillacs, exploiting us like Caucasian did for 400 years. I got 400 cheers for 400 peers, died from gang-related crimes. That's why I got gang-related rhymes. So what he's saying is basically, like, look at what you drug dealers are doing. You're not that different from the white man or any of these other groups that are terrorizing our community by taking all of this money out. Now, the way it was supposed to work is the gang members would do their thing, but then they would also invest in the community and build it up. But he's saying, like, what are you guys doing? Like, oh, great, you got a Cadillac, but maybe you could have opened a grocery store and employed some people and created some black businesses in our neighborhoods instead of, letting everyone else do it. So instead
of like investing into white businesses or whatever, wherever they got their car
or wherever they got their drugs from, like the whole situation is just playing into a white man's game that was set up to keep people down. And then it's like, when I do a show to kick some facts, us blacks don't even know how to act. Sometimes I believe the hype man, we mess it up ourselves and blame the white man. But don't point the finger, you. Take a look at you, dumb you. Pretty soon hip-hop won't be nice. No Ice Cube, just Vanilla Ice. And y'all sit and scream and cuss, but there's no one to blame but us. I could say that pop music and hip-hop has gotten a little Vanilla Icy. Maybe not quite completely Vanilla Icy. There's still some Ice Cubes out there, but
of course.
The game is definitely different and not so reflective of reality in the top tier mainstream. I'm talking about the guys who really dominate the charts for the most part. Us, we'll always sing the blues because we care about his hairstyles and tennis shoes, and if you step on mine, your button is pushed because I'll beat you down like it ain't nothing, just like a beast, but I'm the first to holler out, peace, black man. I beat my wife and children to a pulp when I get drunk and smoke dope, got a bad heart condition, still eat hog mugs and chitlins, spent my money on the dice and horses, jobless, so I'm a hope for the armed forces. So it's like saying, like, look at how you behave. You act in bad ways. You beat your wife and kids. You're kind of blowing your money on these bad situations. And it's like, he goes on through the verse, and then he goes, now this is just a little summary of us, but y'all think it's dumb of me to hold a mirror to your face, but trust, nobody give a fuck about. And he's saying us, and he's like saying, like, you might not appreciate this song because this song is reflecting back some things that I'm not thrilled with in the way that we behave, but it's kind of like, how can you expect us to rise up if we don't act dignified in any way? If we just keep doing the shit they accuse us of doing, then they're never going to think about us differently. They're never going to give a fuck about us. And to make people care about us, we have to behave differently. And I think that this song really is important for Ice Cube's image here, and it's what makes it go from being like some racist shit earlier on to like a genuine, complete picture of what's happening on this side of the album, because we can say this is the end of the life side. So it's kind of walking through the villains that have attacked the community and all the problems that are going on, and approaches like, we need to kick the white man out. We need to stop having him take our women. We need to fight back against Uncle Sam and the gang violences and the situation. But then it ends with, we need to look at ourselves and we need to be better. And I was like, that's a pretty cool way to end the story of this album, so to speak. So I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Yeah. So I think that this one, I think the song before, right, is, let me just make sure. Yeah, doing dumb shit. So I think that he's kind of talking about how black people are also doing some dumb shit, and like that they can be better. And so he kind of starts by talking about that kind of behavior, and then becomes and then he realizes that he becomes envious, he becomes envious of those who have what what they don't have, and so like people are like backstabbing and trying to steal and stuff like that, which makes me think of like snitches and like all of that kind of behavior, and then just he kind of, it sums up to like black people as a community need to like self-reflect, maybe not understand like your situation, understand like what's going on, and how your behavior contributes to like people's reactions to you. Like sometimes, like obviously there's still racism and everything else, but I think it's also how you like approach life and your like demeanor and your attitude, and just like kind of how to like better educate themselves, and like, you know, because he's basically said like the government's not going to do anything for you. You know, whether it's health, whether it's education, whether it's, you know, anything, you know, like they're not going to help you. So you need to educate yourself, and you need to understand the facts. And if you don't understand something, don't just be like, oh, I'm ignorant, whatever, that's just how it is or whatever. Like, understand it. Like, go figure out a way to get the answers to your questions. Go to the library, go to, you know, like, there's so many resources at libraries, and, you know, I think they're underutilized. And you know, if you don't have access to the internet or like things like that, like, you know, if you are, you know, living in like that kind of lifestyle, like maybe you don't have access to all these kinds of things. So it's just to use the resources that are out there and just try to like better yourselves and educate themselves, and by doing that you can become more successful, and then again rise up to be a better group of people, you know, and not necessarily to white people's standards, or like, you know, to what, or Jewish people, like, as he mentions as well, like, you know, we need to like pave our own lane. And yeah, just to kind of like to, you know, do their own thing. And then he also says like, stop making excuses or like pointing fingers, like not everything is white people's fault. Like sometimes we have to look at our behavior and like what we're doing to, you know, we can't just sit around and blame them and not try to fix ourselves, like, and find better solutions to something that doesn't involve white people, or something that, you know, involves everybody. And I don't know what really, like, but just trying to like do that. And I think that this is not necessarily a new message, but it's still a good message. And like, I think it is, you know, really important, especially in like, you know, really popping rap music and rap artists like hip hop, that they, you know, especially like in hip hop, like they're not always just talking about, you know, fucking hoes and shooting people, that clearly they're trying to make a better message. And, you know, as much as people might think that like Ice Cube is so evil or whatever, like his, or, you know, or like have like the impression of him, but if they listen to his music, they would understand that it's not about violence at all. It's not about like that kind of gang stuff. It's basically just trying to teach people how to be a better person and deal with issues that are affecting him and his community. And I really like this one, and it definitely feels like a conclusion on this album where everything is touched upon, that he's talked about, and he's kind of tied it all together. He's very like formatic, like this could be an essay that is written, and I like how it ends. I give it a 4.75.
All right, and I guess that brings us to the funnest song on the album, No Vaseline.
I never have dinner with the president. I never have dinner with the president.
All right. So before we talk about this song, it must be said that on the NWA album, the second album, they drop a little skit where they have this thing, and it's like Dr. Dre's playing this little voicemail, kind of showing what the fans think about, you know, Cube. And it's like, here's what they, you know, some people like, yo, since Ice Cube left, your group's been so much better. He was shit anyway, blah blah blah. And then it flows into Real Whatevers, which is a great diss song where they kind of go aggressive on anybody, but whatever. Dre does have that Benedict Arnold line, and it kind of looks whatever. But I wanted to draw attention to something Dr. Dre said on this.
Okay.
All these with the jibber jabber, but couldn't kill a fly with a motherfucking sledgehammer. Who the fuck could kill a fly with a sledgehammer? Do you know how hard it would be to kill a fucking fly with a sledgehammer? Like, are you kidding me, Dr. Dre? You'd pick it up and the fly would be moving, and you'd get lucky. You just keep swinging until you hit the fly by accident, because you would not intentionally hit the fucking fly. That is a dumb line. That is one of those lines that sounds cool until you really think about it, and you can tell that Dr. Dre did not, in my opinion.
I think he just means that he's going to crush the little thing like so hard and significantly. It's going to just be like so aggressive.
I started like picturing how hard it would be to actually accurately aim a sledgehammer. Like, that's not an easy thing. Like, he's making it sound like, yeah, anybody could just do it. No, not anybody could just pick up a fucking sledgehammer and hit a fly. That's not an easy thing to do, where like, oh, you're so weak, but you couldn't do that. Well, no, I couldn't. I do have jibber jabber, but no, I probably could not pick up a sledgehammer and kill a fly. I could kill a bigger thing that was less flying around the room with a sledgehammer. I could kill a person with a sledgehammer a lot easier, I think, because I could smash them. You know, maybe I'm overthinking this.
I think this is just.
But damn, that was
conversation. Just get a ice water.
That was the like
end of
lamest diss that I've ever heard from Dr. Dre. That's what I was trying to say there. But it's important because I finally understood the beginning of No Vaseline, which is one of the greatest diss songs of all time. Absolutely. Produced by Sir Jinx. And it just kind of has like, damn, forgot to do something. Let me see. Oh, yeah. It ain't over, motherfuckers. So that's the last thing.
This is like the PS to the album.
Responding to NWA. The motherfucking saga continues. Yeah, motherfuckers, for ready for NWA, we'll get the fuck up. A bitch is a bitch, show if you're poor. It once was said by a man who couldn't quit. Dope man, dope man. Anyway, and then it just kind of has, and I think this is, like, we haven't even started the song, and it's kind of pointing out, okay, people are acting like a certain way, acting a little bit like fiends. Things aren't okay, whatever. But then Ice Cube writes the rhymes that I say. And it's just like, oof. To have like Eazy-E just like saying that like there, that's not a good look, you know. But now since he stepped the fuck off, here's what they think about you. And then it samples in some of the stuff Dre said, but has a lot more people pointing out like, yo, real? Them, Dre and Yella used to wear lipstick and lace. You know?
It's a lot of like the bad things about NWA are being pointed out, and like there's not a lot of like positive news where like maybe there once was.
Well, I look at it like they showed all the shit, like, because what the NWA showed on their album was people are saying NWA is now great without Ice Cube, and Ice Cube's like, oh, you're saying that, eh? And then playing all the shit of, yo.
The reality is that people are also saying that more people are saying that
Ice Cube is everything about it, and NWA is like kind of soft now and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then it's like a minute and a half of this like flowing in, and it's just he just keeps saying, here's what they think about you, and it's like really like you listen to it and it builds up and it just kind of gets in your head, and every time you hear it you see some shit, and then you get that NWA ain't shit without Ice Cube. It's like the last thing you hear in the calls on Ice Cube's end. Fuck all y'all, which is a good fuck all y'all.
Yeah.
Then my day gets better every single time. God damn, I'm glad y'all set it off. And you just can't help it. It's so boppy and it's so good. And almost line for line, he just assassinates them. Used to be hard, now you just wet and soft. First you were down with the AK, and now I see you on a video at Miss Chalet looking straight bozos. I saw it coming, that's why I went solo and kept on stomping. And this is again this next line. So let's look at it. They used to be hard, now they're acting a certain way. Like, why y'all acting like kind of hanging out on these shows? And this isn't gangster at all. But he went solo, he kept it proper. Well, y'all motherfuckers moved straight out of Compton.
Yeah.
Whew. We barely even started, and he just like took the album title and slapped them with it. Y'all left. I'm still here. What you know about that?
Yep.
Living with the whites, one big house and not another in sight. Started off with too much cargo, dropped for it. Now I'm making all the dough. And then it's just great, man. It's like white man just ruling that with attitude. Who you fooling? Y'all just phony. I put that on my mama and dead homies, right? So he's kind of pointing out in this whole first half of this verse that y'all are kind of lame and I'm the real shit and y'all acting way. But he just his attitude, because he got that Ice Cube and fucking kill you voice the whole way through it. And then calls out Yella. He's like, you're losing. Yo, Dre, stick to producing. Calling me Arnold, but Benedict. But you, Benedict, Eazy-E saw your ass and went in it quick. So Dre started rapping more to fill the void, I guess. And he's like, don't do that. Go back to producing. You're not a very good rapper, because Dre called him Benedict Arnold. So he plays Benedict. And then the whole premise of this song is they all like getting fucked in the ass, which we've established is what the government does to people. So there's like a context to it in the bigger frame of the album.
Yeah.
But
that the white man is like fucking them.
Somebody
is
does
raping them.
Like, I think it's MC Ren in the Others track actually makes like a comment to getting fucked with without Vaseline or whatever. He gets fucked with a broomstick or whatever. So they bring up that point too.
That comes up more often than you'd think. Getting fucked with a broomstick in the ass, and that must happen like all the time in jail, like, because I feel like that's always a reference to like a jail situation. Like, that's not cool.
And I don't know. This verse is kind of light, though, I think, all things considered. And then it's against, again, those two. Because you're getting fucked out your green by a white boy with no Vaseline. And then the hook comes in, not getting dumped with no Vaseline. And it just kind of flows and it's funky. Whatever. And then the second verse takes on his next target, MC Ren, who had released The Villain in Black about his album. So the bigger the cap, the bigger the peeling. Who gives a fuck about a punk ass villain? You getting fucked real quick, and Eazy's dick is smelling like MC Ren's shit, meaning that MC Ren's butthole was open and Eazy went in, and his thingy now smells like what was up his butt. He tried to warn Ren that this was a bad situation. As you all know, Jerry Heller allegedly was fucking him out of all the monies, and they tried to quit and nobody listened, and so whatever. But Willie D, who has Bonnie covered his song Coon, is aware he has certain feelings about certain types of people who maybe play into white people's games. So Willie D goes, let a hoe be a hoe. So he couldn't have stopped him from getting ganked. And then one of my favorite lines is, now let's play big bank take little bank. So what he's saying here is, you let yourself get fucked up and lose all your money. I got all of my money and shit. You really want to go toe to toe with me? Fine. I just have the wealthy assets now at this point to essentially crush what you have because you don't have the money to compete with me. You tried to diss Ice Cube. It wasn't worth it because the broomstick fits your ass so perfect. Cut my hair because they told him to cut his hair, and he did cut his hair because the Jerry curl thing was an NWA. Nah, cut them balls because I heard you like giving up the drawers. And then gang bang by your manager, and it was supposed to be hella, but instead they put fella, probably because it was a little too much. But Jerry Hella, get it? Gang bang by your manager, hella. Oh, I didn't even know that till I looked this up for this review. Get money out your ass like a motherfucking ready teller, giving up the dollar bills, and now they got the villain with a purse and high heels, you know. And then it flows on through, and he's kind of like, you know, basically this whole situation's a case of divide and conquer. And then I know he got in trouble for this line because he let a Jew break up my crew, and they're like, it's anti-Semitic. It's not that anti-Semitic. It's just that a Jewish man may have broken up the crew of NWA. And you know what rhymes with crew pretty good?
Poo.
Jew. Anyway, so he just kind of like pulls it out, and he's also getting fucked in the ass with no Vaseline. Chorus comes back in.
Yep.
And then one of the absolutely, like, I think this next three lyrics kind of body Eazy-E, in my opinion. Never had dinner with the president. I never had dinner with the president. I never had dinner with the president unless Obama's in office, and then I'll consider it. Yeah, that was true.
Yeah.
We looked it up to see if he had dinner
But he
with
did
Obama.
not. He said that he would rather have dinner with him after.
Yeah.
Maybe he has. I don't know.
But-
maybe after he's out of office.
But his attitude did change from I never to I hope I don't have to, but I might consider it now because it's Obama. So
Well, not now.
so
obviously.
now there's a small chance that Ice Cube would have dinner with a future president, you know, because I'm just saying it's not a 0% chance as he puts it out here. But Eazy-E did not have, because this verse is about Eazy-E, of course, saving the best for last.
Yep.
He didn't actually have dinner with the president. So this basically what happened is there was a Republican benefit for
luncheon or
some
whatever.
inner circle of people
The
hosted.
Republican circle.
But it was hosted by President George H.W. Bush. He was
Senior.
Yeah, that's why I said H.W. And then Eazy-E somehow got invited to this thing and said,
So the thing is that there was apparently this whole kerfuffle happened because of a mailing mix-up or like just like a mess up from like the government, and there were like these join our Republican circle or whatever and just pay $1,000 and you could be in this club. But like not really anybody did. But Eazy-E, I guess, decided to pay the $1,000 and join the club just to kind of stir shit up because he could. And
but it's also like Eazy-E says, like, they targeted me because I donate to charities, and so he got targeted. And then basically he's like, why the fuck not? I'll go to this thing.
Yeah, he definitely took advantage of that, and definitely wanted to become a member of the Republican circle, and went to like this like big, like swearing in, like I guess type of a ceremony. And so it was a luncheon with the president there, and so the third verse is basically all about Eazy-E.
And on top of that, it's like Eazy-E, when he got to this luncheon, apparently they were like, don't let this fucking guy in, do you know who he is? And he actually went there and caused
Obviously,
trouble.
none of them did, because they were old white men.
In a sense, he caused trouble for the president, and it's actually cooler when you look into Eazy-E's attitude about it than it looks. But back then, nobody had Google to look that up, so it was just pictures of him at this Republican luncheon flowing around, and it's like this. And then when I saw this on Genius, and I don't know how true it is because like I never heard the song, but apparently this could also be this little part influenced from Ghetto Boys' Size Ain't Shape, which has I've been a stupid ass motherfucker ever since. I've been a stupid ass motherfucker ever since. I've been a stupid ass motherfucker ever since the penitentiary became my residence. So it's possible, especially since he.
But that's also like a very common formatic or formula in like terms of poetry.
But he does mention Willie D on this song.
That's fair.
So that does make the Ghetto Boys a little more prevalent. Even though Scarface would rather us not talk about his music, fine. We're not talking about you, Scarface. It was Willie D. And then that's true. He tweeted us unhappily, and then he goes, when I see your ass again, I'll be hesitant. Not think you're a snitch. Throw a house in a ditch. Half pint bitch. Fucking your homeboys, you little maggot. Eazy-E turn faggot. With your manager, fella. Fucking MC Ren, Dr. Dre, and Yella. But if they were smart as me, Eazy-E to be hanging from a tree with no Vaseline. Just to match in a little bit of gasoline. Light 'em up, burn 'em up, flame on. Till that Jerry Curl's gone. On a permanent vacation. Off that massa plantation. Heard you both got the same bank account. And he's just going in here, right? Like
he really goes hard on Eazy-E, on Eric.
And so he's pointing out that, like, you let every one of your peoples get fucked. You're with the president. I would kill you. I would just destroy you. In my opinion, you should be fucking dead. We should burn you up like they did to you. You just deserve it. You're basically a slave to the situation. He's like, what you thinking? Get rid of that devil real simple. Put a bullet in his temple, because you can't beat a for life dude with a white Jew telling you what to do. Pulling wolves with your scams. Now I gotta play Silence of the Lamb. With a midget who's punk, too, trying to fuck me, but I'd rather fuck you. Eric Wright punk, I was into something, getting fucked at night by Mr. Shitpacker. Bend over for the goddamn cracker. No Vaseline. And that's just it. He's like, listen, the way you set yourself up, you've integrated in. He's basically like you're married to him. How the hell are you supposed to be in, End for Life, which I believe is the name of their second album, spelled backwards or whatever? And how are you supposed to even claim that when your guy who's running your shit is this old white man and whatnot who's basically fucking you in the ass? So bend over and take it. He's just packing your shit in. And then the song ends and you're just like, wow. Like, I know a lot of people put Ether, Hit 'Em Up, and Take Over as their favorite diss songs. I don't think there's a better diss song than No Vaseline. That I Never Had Dinner with the President line slays. Like, there's just so many lines which just slays. Like, Ether's good, but Nas doesn't actually go in as hard, in my opinion, as Ice Cube does here, when you really think about the quality and the severity and the personal nature of the disses. Like, Ice Cube demolished him with zero regard about, like, he wanted to kill their reputations, or at least Eazy-E's and a little bit of MC Ren's. Seemed like Dre and Yellow were a little insignificant.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is an obvious 5 because it's one of the greatest songs.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add to that. It's just a general diss to the former members, or to his former group, the members of NWA, and clearly things did not end well there, and there's clearly some sort of a beef, which we can kind of get the gist of from watching the movie Straight Outta Compton. If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. And the beat is super hype on this, and it's you just want to like nod your head and clap along, and just sort of like getting taken advantage of by the white people. You saying that's what happened to you, and like they like fucked you up the ass with no Vaseline, and I guess maybe, I don't know, when did lube start becoming like a thing that people
I think people have been using lube since the beginning of sex body.
since the beginning of sex. I don't know if there was KY in the caveman era.
I'm certain that they found some shit.
I'm sure that there was something, but
and
like,
they use lube.
yeah. So, and
Or-
if you don't, it's no. Well, yes, obviously, there's that. Anyways, just hard truths, and just kind of like being like, you're screwed over by this white guy, and like he's just being like, I'm living better than that, and like nobody, I'm making my own decisions, and like I'm working with people that I respect, and like just. It just seems like a little bit more like, this is how I'm living and that's how you're living, and you can't talk shit anymore. Like, just basically like your life isn't what it used to be and you're not true to yourself. And then obviously that I never had dinner with the president and that whole ridiculous story. And then the last verse is just about Eric, where it definitely seems like the rest, the rest of them, yes, they get touched on, but like, obviously the main jab is towards Eazy-E. And it's a great diss track. And I don't know. I don't know if I like diss tracks, but I suppose it's friendly rivalry. But like, this is just like the perfect sound for Ice Cube, like just the way that it comes across, and like his aggressiveness, and it's just like the epitome of like what he is. So I give this a 5 on 5. It's great.
All right, so I guess that brings us to the end of this Death Certificate album experience with all of the songs. This album's pretty great to me. I absolutely think it's a classic that survives the ages. A lot of the subject matter, honestly, is still relevant. I don't know. I don't want to call it timeless, because I'd like to hope that we can reach a point where it's no longer relevant and it really feels dated. That would be a really cool place to be. But we're not there yet, 27 years later or whatever. So it still makes it such a powerful connection to the human experience. And like, just when you look at so much else that's been done, Ice Cube really had his finger to the pulse on understanding the psychology that goes into this situation. So I gave this album a 4.58. I mean, Ice Cube's raps are extremely, to the point of almost repetition, consistent in the flow. The way he raps, he sometimes goes a little faster, sometimes goes a little slower, but the wordplay and what he raps about, and his intelligence and his writing skill, it's like every song is different. Every song is unique sounding, and the only thing that sounds the same song to song is Ice Cube sounding like he wants to knock you out. I like this album a lot. Overall, I thought this was great. I gave this a 4.49 on 5, so basically a 4.5. So that comes out to an 89.8, so I'm just going to round that up to a 90%, because it's just great. It is a classic. There were only a couple of songs, like I think 2 that I gave a 4 to, and like that was the lowest mark. And it's consistent, and it hits a lot of personal issues, as well as societal issues. And Ice Cube always makes everything sound so conversational, which makes it very personal. And by like, conversational, I mean like just somebody like ranting, rap lyrics aggressively at you, but in like a good kind of way, and like a way like a mean teacher, but that's good-hearted. You know what I mean? Like, he's just kind of like that, and like he just wants the best for his people, his students, like just like that kind of like image in your head. And like it makes things very accessible, the way that he talks to you, the way that he addresses his audience, the way he raps, the way he's clear, he's consistent, he makes things accessible to everybody. Like, he's not necessarily using like huge words that are complicated, and whatever you have to have a dictionary to follow along with. Like, he's making things that are really easy for everybody to understand, and breaking things down very obviously, but in the smartest way. And it's really great. Like, Ice Cube is just like a fantastic person, and it just makes it like him. Like, you just walk away and you're like, you just had a conversation with this guy. Like, it's very personal,
I mean, that's how at least I took it. And I think it's a smart move, and he charmed everybody, and he's smart about what he talks about. And he's definitely a smart guy with passion, and it shows. And he's clearly trying to be a good person and encourage, everybody else to do the same sort of thing through his music, through his actions. And he stays true to himself while still, being in Compton and being involved in his community. And he hasn't just stepped away and walked away from that. He's always going to have his, he's always going to have a place to go back to, I guess, in Compton or wherever. I don't really know if he owns property. I'm sure he still owns a lot of property in Compton, and I'd have to look that up. But anyways, it's great. He's great. Go listen to it if you haven't, and go listen to it again if you already have. So yeah, enjoy.
All right, well, thank y'all for watching. Totally appreciate you being here with us. Feel free to leave us a comment and add to the conversation. Let us know what you think of anything, the album, how it is like when you bought the vinyl, if you bought the vinyl, and what you prefer, vinyl, tape, CD. Nobody picks tape. Nobody. The only good thing about tape was recording off the radio.
Yep.
Which was dope when they were broke.
Yep.
And yeah, so let us know what you think. We'll have a little chit chat down there. If you make the effort to comment, I'll make the effort to answer. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews, and feel free to hit that like button. We got a couple ideas on how to get more love over here on this channel in the near future. Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Dempsey, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, who requested this review, and Lindell Williams. They support what we do. They help us grow. They helped us get a new camera since YouTube doesn't want to pay us very much. This is very helpful to have as an option. And yeah, if you join us on this quest, you can help us get bigger and better and make this more interesting, maybe look a little bit nicer, things like that. And for $1 more a month, you can join the squad. Other than that, we make music. Well, I make music. You can check that out on my channel and whatnot.
I just play the recorders out my nose. That's pretty much all I can do.
Link in description, and Bonnie will make that video for you of her playing the recorder with her
Yeah,
nose.
if you like this. If 25 people like this video, I'll make it.
25. Give a real number. Like 5,000 people or some shit. We can get 25 fucking likes on a video.
Yeah, well, people want to see me play the recorder out my nose. I'm trying to make it easy for them.
50,000 likes. Anyway, thank y'all for watching, and have a great day.
Bye, guys.